So I just left my therapist's office and I'm thinking about my childhood, and I'm starting to realize how impactful small things that happen to you as a child can be on, your future or your present life. I remember being a child and I was like super intelligent, right? Like straight A student. And I remember, I was born in Charleston, South Carolina, and my parents moved us to Atlanta right after I finished the third grade. And, in fourth grade, I had a teacher named Miss Hicks Lewis, right? And I remember being in her class and being super excited, when we were learning about the states and the capitals and all of that, because I had just realized that certain city names don't necessarily remain in their state, right? There are other states that may have cities with similar names, right? So me being born in Charleston, South Carolina, just now getting to Atlanta and finding out that there's a city in West Virginia also with the name of Charleston, I was super excited to share this. So, I'm raising my hand like, Miss Hicks Lewis, like, did you know that there's a Charleston, West Virginia, as well as a Charleston, South Carolina? And Miss Hicks Lewis' response was, no. So as a child who, at home, I had already started to develop a reputation of being a know-it-all. My teacher doing that just kind of confirmed that for me mentally, right? So I was like, dang, right? And I stopped, expressing anything that I knew, anything that I found out, anything I thought was interesting, fun facts that I wanted to share. I just, kept it all to myself. And now that I'm older, I realize I probably shouldn't have done that, but also look at that adult like, the fuck is wrong with you? Then I'm thinking about the very next year, right? I have a teacher named Miss Kennebrew. Free Miss Kennebrew, by the way. I'll explain that later on. So our school was getting ready for a school-wide spelling bee. And of course, before you do the school-wide spelling bee, you have to have the individual classroom spelling bees. I'm still this very intelligent, very well-presented kid. So, of course, Miss Kennebrew wants me to represent our class in the spelling bee. Problem is, I'm not the best speller in the class. The best speller was actually a kid by the name of Jamarius Pittman. The issue with Jamarius was he was not the best behaved kid in that class. Jamarius was bad, and our class was in a trailer, right? And there was another classroom next to it. But in between the classrooms, there was like this little area where you could just pass through. The teachers put a desk in there. And if a student was misbehaving, they'd put him in that closet, essentially, with the desk, and let them sit there to calm down on some Matilda Chokey type shit. But, I'm looking back on it, that's probably not the best place to put your misbehaved students. One day we sitting in class and Jamarius is misbehaving, and the teacher decided to put him inside that closet. And then maybe 2 minutes after being in the closet, we see this white substance come from underneath the door. And we realize Jamarius done grabbed the fire extinguisher and then let it loose in that room. But anyways, we have the class-wide spelling bee. It's down to me and Jamarius. I misspell my word. Jamarius spells the word correctly. Instead of Miss Kennebrew allowing this man to have the win, she's like, nah. So she gives me another word. I misspell it. Jamarius spells it correctly. She gives me another word. I misspell it again. Jamarius spells it correctly again. So now it's like, so she has no choice but to let this problem child represent our class in the school-wide spelling bee. And it really bothers me, thinking back on that, how far she went to try to stop this boy from having something that was rightfully his. He earned the right to be able to represent our class in this spelling bee. This is something that is rightfully his. And if his discipline didn't stop him from participating in the class-wide spelling bee, then you shouldn't attempt to use it as a reason to keep him out of the school-wide spelling bee. It was incredibly messed up. And the position that she put me in. I'm sitting here losing multiple times, looking at this boy winning and saying to myself, like, what are we doing? Let's let him do this. As for y'all adults who are just naturally assholes for whatever reason, and you work with children, like, come on, dog. Like, do better. Like, this can have lasting impacts on these children. And as for Jamarius, bro, I hope you're doing very well in life. I hope you made something out of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, shouts out to you, dog. You shouldn't have to go through what you went through in order to be able to participate in a goddamn spelling bee. And as far as Miss Kennebrew is concerned, I know I said free her earlier in the video. This video is already pretty long, so maybe I'll explain what happened to her later on. But free Miss Kennebrew.